Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Gerstenhaber. I'm the VP of Product Management for the Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform. And I'm here today with David Thacker and Michele from Replit. But I'll let them introduce themselves. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Great to see you all. I'm David Thacker, VP of Product at Google DeepMind. I'm based in California, but I'm responsible for the product teams that are building our models. And I also run DeepMind's Applied AI team.
Michele, Catasta, President and Head of AI at Replit. In case you haven't heard of us yet, we are a platform to democratize software creation for everyone.
Great.
Great. So I think today we've got a bit of a combination panel presentation. I'm going to start off and give you just a glimpse of what we've been working on at DeepMind across the board. And then I'll transition to Michael. We'll talk about some of the things we're doing in Google Cloud to productize these models. And then we'll hear from Replit on some of the ways that they're using our technology. So here's us. Starting off with Google DeepMind. So I always like to start off by talking about the mission of DeepMind. And for those of you not familiar, DeepMind was a startup founded in London back in 2010 with the mission to build artificial general intelligence. And back in 2010, nobody else was doing that. It was truly science fiction back then. But the company was really committed to this vision. And in 2014, Google acquired the company and pretty much left it alone for the first 5 or 6 years. And then really over the last 3 years, we've brought DeepMind into the fold of Google. We now call it the engine room of Google. We've centralized AI model development for Google within DeepMind. But we're still run very much like a startup within Google. Our founder and CEO still runs the company. And I'll take you through some of the things we've been working on recently. But I think one of the things that we're most proud of is Gemini, our Gemini models, which is just over 2 years old now. We're on our version 3.1 of the Gemini models. And I hope most of you are familiar with the lineup. It comes in a variety of different sizes. Everything from our largest, most capable model, which is our Pro model, which is great for powering agents. It's also great for coding, for other types of STEM or engineering, math type work. We have our Flash model in the middle, which is a great blend of performance and efficiency. This is our most popular model and really our workhorse model. And then finally, we have our Flash Lite model, which is our smallest, fastest, most performant model. And I think what it's really important to note is that at Google, we're building these models to run across all the different Google products. My team works very closely with every Google product team, including Google Search, YouTube, Gmail, you name it. They're all powered by Gemini today. And the same models that we use to power Google products are the same models that we put into our cloud platform for customers to use. Oftentimes, we're putting them into the cloud platform the same day we're launching them across Google product surfaces. So you're getting the benefits of our intelligence at Google through the cloud platform. Gemini 3.1, we really focused in a few areas. I think where the model really shines and stands out is in its reasoning capabilities. Also, its ability to leverage multimodal understanding for different types of activities. The model has an incredible ability to analyze video, text, audio, images, code. From the outset, we designed Gemini to be a fully multimodal model. We also invested quite a bit in making the model work really well for powering agents and agentic type activities. So everything from complex multi-step planning to the ability to use various types of different tools across different environments. And finally, coding has been a big focus for us at Gemini and making this model work incredibly well for coding for a variety of different reasons. Within Google, we use Gemini, all of our software engineers, tens of thousands of software engineers, to help develop our software. But also, coding is a foundational building block for a lot of different types of agentic activities. Beyond Gemini, there's a number of other recent innovations we've had. I'm just going to go through a snapshot of what we're doing across the board. DeepMind, Gemini is just one part of our portfolio. We're also heavily invested in areas as diverse as science models, robotics models, also generative media models. So I'll talk about a few of those things right now. But one of our most recent launches is a lineup of open weight models called Gemma. So we're now on the 4th iteration of Gemma. We just launched this a couple weeks ago. These are really incredible open source models that are derived from the Gemini 3 family of models, and they come in a range of sizes, everything from down to 2 billion parameters up to 30 billion parameters. But really great for running on device in particular, incredibly efficient. They're great for if you want to train a task-specific model. The Gemma models are terrific for this. They support a wide range of languages. They have audio and video understanding built in, so not just text. And we're really excited to see the adoption of these models since we've launched them. Another model capability we've really invested in is our audio and voice models. So we have a native audio model called Gemini Live. This allows us to take in audio tokens and output audio tokens. And so it's designed to power interactive voice experiences, voice agents. If you want to try this model, you can use it in our Gemini consumer app. We just deployed this a few weeks ago and have rolled it out broadly. But much reduced latency. We support things like expressiveness, so you can really kind of steer and instruct the model to speak and act in a certain way. It also has the ability to react to the human it's talking to in terms of mirroring emotions and things like that. We call that proactive audio. So we really think we're really bullish on voice as a modality to engage with intelligence and with AI models, and so it's been a big investment for us. On the generative media side, we've got a full range of models, everything from image generation models to video generation models. Lyria is our music generation model. So we just launched Lyria 3 Pro. This allows you, based on a text prompt or even an image, to generate a song up to 3 minutes long. So a full song with full vocals. If you haven't tried this out, I really encourage it. It's super cool. You can find it in the Gemini consumer app. But we think that this is going to support a range of different types of applications where music is really central to it. Just yesterday, we announced something called the Gemini Deep Research Agent. And so one of the most popular things and use cases for Gemini we've seen has been using it for deep exploratory research, right? This could be for understanding the market landscape around something. With our Deep Research Agent, we now allow you, with a single API call, you can call Deep Research to not only access the web and the broader public information, but you can also ground it on your own data sources to come back. And it not only will come back with text, but also can generate charts and graphics, infographics. And so we see a lot of agentic workflows where maybe the first step is you want to first generate some research and understand the context of what you're dealing with. And then from there on, you might have subsequent steps in an agentic workflow. But this is something that's been really popular for us and we've been really excited about. We're also investing in world models at DeepMind. So we have a world model called Genie 3, which is our latest model. And again, you can, if you're an AI Ultra subscriber in the Gemini app, you can try this out. But starting with a text prompt or an image prompt, you can, that's some great music. Sounds like Jump by Van Halen. Genie 3 allows you to create a fully interactive 3D world based on a simple text prompt or an image. And you can navigate this world with your keyboard. You can decide, you can basically prompt the model what type of character you want to be. And world models are very important for a number of different applications in AI. We think here you'll see applications in entertainment, in education, productivity, content generation, gaming. But we also think it's very important for robotics, the ability to simulate the real world and have agents learn how to interact with that world. This is one of the things we're most excited about. And so finally, I wanted to mention Gemini Robotics, which is our robotics model. So robotics is really where physical world meets AI. And we've been investing heavily in Gemini as a platform to power the next generation of robots, general purpose robots that can reason through the world, that can use vision to understand what they're seeing. And we've built the ability to actuate different types of robots. So we launched our latest robotics model last week. It's Gemini Robotics. The ER stands for embodied reasoning, but it allows you to plug Gemini into a robot, and it can leverage all of Gemini's reasoning capabilities and vision capabilities to power different types of experiences. So we have worked with a few different partners, and Boston Dynamics, which is one of the leading hardware robotics companies, is now using ER 1.6 to power its Spot robot, which is a quadruped robot that can go around a facility and investigate things. So with ER, it's able to count objects. It's able to read gauges and things like that that weren't possible before with robotics. So again, we're very excited about the future of robotics, and this is just our latest model in that offering. Okay, my last slide here. Just want to talk a little bit about how we work with Google Cloud. At DeepMind, we really want to see our AI transform every industry and every geography. And we're bringing the same models, same Google models that we use to power Google products into our cloud platform. We work very closely with the Google Cloud team because we love to get feedback from developers and customers and to see how these models are deployed. we're trying to build artificial general intelligence, and so having a wide variety of diverse use cases for how these models are being used is really helpful for us as we improve our models. And so Michael here, we probably talk maybe once a day at least.
Yeah, at least at our team's much more.
Talking through, and we've been really excited to see, as soon as we launch a new model in the Google Cloud platform, it gets adoption right away, right? And it's really been amazing to see the different types of use cases. So now I'm going to turn it over to Michael to talk a little bit about how Google Cloud is deploying some of these capabilities.
Thanks. Thanks, David. So at Google, we've been doing this for a very long time, right? DeepMind pioneered the technology, but we also have in cloud, we have a global network that was originally intended to get a cat video from New York to Tokyo in 75 milliseconds. But that accrues to the current moment because if you are a technician and you are working on an airplane and you are asking a field manual for advice, you need that answer very, very quickly as well. And you need to be able to use your hands and you need to be able to talk to your agents rather than read that manual. We've also been working as a hyperscaler on reliability, obviously, but there are many other Google properties that accrue to this moment, like Google Maps, like Street View, that allow us to do multimodal reasoning over different kinds of images as well. So the advantage of having 20 years of experience actually does accrue to the current moment in many and surprising ways. So there are several problems that I'm hearing in general in agent building. I've been launching models for about 2 years since I was actually at one of our partners, Anthropic, where we launched Claude 3. My first model at Google was Gemini 3. And what we're hearing is that even Gemini 2.5, Gemini 3 are far more powerful than necessary to do a lot of enterprise workflows. It's still necessary to use 3.1 to write the best code in the world. There are many things that 3.1 is leading on the frontier of intelligence. But for a bank's KYC process, they've been using some of our models for the past several months in order to accomplish that goal. Or some of our clinical research customers in biotech, healthcare, life sciences have been doing statistical analysis on data sets, things like that. But not all of those customers are doing those things, and we're seeing uptake day by day by day. And that's because they needed a platform that helped them implement common practices, right? The agents come with intelligence built in. But that doesn't mean they know everything about your organizations. They don't know the background checks about your customers if you're running a KYC process. They don't know the locked database after your clinical study if you are trying to submit to the FDA and show drug efficacy. So the platform allows access in scalable and flexible ways to that data, but contemplates credentialing and data access and information retrieval as well. And finally, it has to be built on trust, right? In order to take the human out of the loop and really take advantage of cloud scale, you also need to be able to observe what the agent has done. You have to be able to audit the decisions it has made, the data it has accessed, and what kind of synthetic generated data it has generated, and at what level it has classified that data for future storage and retrieval. So it is only with trust in front and trust at the end of that pipeline that the middle is going to scale without a human in the loop. Because if it's scaling with a human in the loop, it's really only scaling to the size of your teams and not the size of the cloud. You see it especially in the coding realm. The SDLC really does contemplate a lot of those checks already, which is why you see such an enormous amount of code authorship done in the cloud at this point. But many of these enterprise processes benefit as well. So I want to, sorry, not know how to use this thing. I want to move to a little bit of a conversation rather than slideware. And I want to start with something David said earlier. Our teams are talking hundreds of times a day. We sim ship almost every model that a cloud application is going to use, maybe with the exception of embodied robotics. But I want to ask you, how do you interact with cloud customers? How does our relationship not necessarily make cloud better, but how does it make our models better? How does it make them smarter, faster, and more efficient?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see that there's now millions of developers that are building on Gemini. And so with the Google Cloud team, when we're launching new models, when we're building new models, we'll oftentimes run a public preview or a private preview sometimes with a set of cloud customers to get feedback. And we've selected a diversity of different types of customers, different types of use cases, everything from startups to large enterprises. We'll use a lot of that feedback to understand what's working in the model, what's not working in the model, and we use that to select which models we're going to launch. We also use it to improve specific capabilities of the model. So it's been super helpful to have that feedback. I think it's great to have all the Google products using Gemini, but the Google teams are kind of a captive audience. Like, they have to use our models. And so what's great about cloud customers is you all have choices. You're looking at a variety of different solutions. And so we know for you to choose our models, we really have to be the best at what you're trying to accomplish with the model. So it really pushes us to make the models better. And we've gotten some great feedback from some of these deep partnerships we've had with cloud.
That's great. So you recently released 3.1 Pro. We get in discussions about hill climbing, about making numbers go up, right? Like, there are areas where we know that good enough is only good enough. But there are also areas where we focus uniquely and think of us as having like specific advantages in our models. How do you think about some of those for the audience? Where do you focus? Where you think other labs might not?
Yeah, I think in terms of our models, one of the advantages we have at Google is we're completely full stack. So we have everything from our own TPUs, which you heard about earlier today, and all the innovations we're doing there. And the DeepMind team works very closely with our team working and building our chips. We also work very closely with the cloud teams building our next generation AI data centers to make sure those things are really well suited to not only train our models, but also run our models at scale. The other thing that we have is, with Google products, our consumer products, some of our products like Google Search, which has been completely reinvented with Gemini. I mean, if you see Google Search now, it's got AI overviews, AI mode, and we're running that at over 2 billion plus user scale. So it's the most popular generative AI product in the world right now. And to do that and to be able to serve at very low latency to billions of consumers, like, we have to make these models and the entire stack incredibly efficient. So that's one of the things we've done. And you'll see, like, our model, our flashlight model, which is our smallest Gemini model, that's the reason it's incredibly efficient, right? Because we've really tuned it over the years to work well at massive Google scale, and we can pass on those benefits to you. I think a couple other areas where we really focus, multimodality. Again, when DeepMind started, and when the Gemini project started, we wanted it to be natively multimodal from the outset. And part of the reason for that is when you're trying to build AGI, we're trying to build an AI system that's going to pattern on how the human brain works and is able to do the types of cognitive tasks that a human can do. And so it's really important for it to be multimodal. So not only on understanding, and if you haven't tried this, you should certainly try. You can upload a video to Gemini. We could upload a video of us speaking on this panel, and we could ask it to critique us, and it would do a pretty incredible job, and hopefully be pretty flattering. But those are the types of things you can do with the multimodal understanding capabilities. But we've also invested quite heavily in generation, so to generate images and videos, and we talked about music earlier. So these are some of the areas where we think really Gemini shines.
Yeah, I love certain areas where we're able to combine these things, right? Where we can do a grounding with Google Search and determine where you are. We can look up the weather for that location, but then we can produce a video of you, in the rain to show you what it's going to be like for that day. And so, like, pipelining and combining these models is something that we see.
Yeah, exactly. Now I get to ask you a couple questions. Yeah. Then we're gonna hear from Replit. So one of the things with these models are amazing at helping the software engineering process and the software development lifecycle. It's really speeding up things. So how do you, when you're working with cloud customers, how do you help them understand not only what to build, but what not to build? Because in an era where it's becoming much easier with AI code generation to build pretty much anything, how do you think about that?
That's a really good question. That's a really fun one, actually. I was at a company called Datadog for 7 years, and some of you probably have used my product. One of the things I liked there was that monitoring Kubernetes, and most of my customers looked like monitoring Kubernetes, whether it was like Capital One or Airbnb or whatever, it's pods and clusters and that sort of thing. Working with cloud customers on AI is extremely mission-oriented, right? When you work with somebody like Thomson Reuters, you're talking about points of law, you're talking about clauses in a contract and whether or not they're better for the advocate or the adversary. When you're working with a large bank, you're talking about their KYC process and anti-money laundering. When I talk to most of the customers, there's no easy answer for what we should build with AI. A lot of where I do focus is what do you know better than everybody else in the world, and how can we help you trust the model? What I have seen, well, there are three boundary conditions that I've seen on the models. One is this frontier of intelligence. The best code in the world that is being written is really the least bad it's ever going to be at this point, but we all know that we try to write better and better and better code when new and new models come out. But if you are looking at a catalog and you want to determine if the green shares are green and you're extracting metadata, that only gets so good. The green shares don't get any greener, right? And so that doesn't require the frontier of intelligence. But if you're a 911 operator, if you are a DoorDash delivery person and you are trying to figure out how to apply a policy in real time in an urgent situation, you become very latency bound very, very, very quickly, right? And this is where Gemini Flash shines because it brings the most intelligence to bear possible within a fixed time budget. And then lastly, we were talking about Flashlight a moment ago. If you want to moderate the entire internet, you're one of these platforms that I won't necessarily name. You don't know how many posts there will be, you don't know how bad they are going to be, and no matter how big your budget is, you have to contemplate an infinite volume. And Flashlight, because it was designed for Google Search, contemplates an infinite volume. So we usually take that lens with our customers and understand what their domains are, and help them select the right tool for the job, whether or not they are doing something that is incredibly hard, like validating a contract, or something that happens at scale, like moderating the internet. We work hand in hand with them. The other thing I will say is that the models are smarter than me in everything that I'm not like 18 years of experience in. And I think that most of us will find that to be the case. So the other way we help customers is encouraging them not to tell the models what to do, how you think they should solve their problem, but really to give them the context that is necessary to solve the problem and trust that they will, as long as you tell them what your goal is, your strategy, what the context of your business might be, just like hiring somebody, right? When you hire a brilliant intern, or not even an intern, a new hire from Princeton with 1 year of experience or something, they're going to pick up what you're putting down pretty quickly, but that doesn't mean that if they came on to Datadog on day one, they know how to do time series arithmetic. So you know they're not going to do a very good job if you put them in front of a customer without that training. You're also not telling them exactly how to help a customer in every single situation. That's almost impossible. You're trusting that they will figure that out in the field and get better at it as they get more experienced. And the models, and especially agents, the models are mutable, obviously, but the agents are entirely capable of that kind of self-improvement, and so the platform helps with that as well.
And then related to that, I mean, earlier today, Google Cloud announced the Google Enterprise Agent Platform in the keynote. And so can you tell us a little bit about that, like how you're seeing customers deploy agents, what are the most common use cases, and any advice for building and scaling with that platform?
So choosing a model is just like one part of building an agent, and that part is very important. But the agent platform contemplates much more than the model garden itself. We separate this into like build, scale, govern, and optimize. Build and scale we've talked about a lot for many years. We offer ADK, we offer Agent Engine. These are places that allow you to build your harnesses, to deploy your harnesses, and give you an easy place to plumb observability into those harnesses. The very important parts that we're adding today, especially, are govern and optimize, and those two things go hand in hand, right? We are able to watch what your agents are doing in real time, and like I was saying, your agents should self-improve. Even though the models themselves are immutable, you should be able to see in your stack traces how they are behaving in real time. And that might mean stopping them from doing something because they've breached a policy that you don't want them to breach, or more commonly, giving them examples of what they have done well or poorly in the past and putting that back into the context window. Context engineering isn't a process of like writing a lot of English with your hands. It's really just throwing a trace into the context window and say, don't do that ever again, right? And it will extrapolate from there, and it'll get better and better and better from there. And so that flywheel will both protect you, your customers, and your businesses, but it will also increase the productivity of those agents for your businesses. Great. So I think we should turn it over to Michele at Replit to talk about how they're using the Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform and your business in general.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, Replit is a vibe coding platform that really democratizes access to software creation for everyone. And we've been using Gemini basically since the inception of the project. And I think I want to give you public praise about really understanding that intelligence is not going to be just one size fits all package. You understood from day one that there should be like a powerful model that really pushes the frontier, and at the same time, Flash and Flashlight are sort of like Swiss Army knives that you can deploy everywhere in product and add that touch of intelligence that makes the user experience way more delightful, but really doesn't break the bank and that doesn't impact the budget for the users. And the other advantage that we experience on a daily basis at Replit is the fact that Gemini is offered on Vertex, and there is beauty in having everything in one single place. Our entire infrastructure runs on GCP. We get access to intelligence on Vertex as well, so that makes the custom maintenance and, like in general, the work of our SRE is much easier, compared to spreading workloads across too many providers.
Right. What I love about Replit is that you really created an entire market of engineers, right? It's not just like engineers who know the word Kubernetes, who hold a pager, that wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning that are engineers now. We're all engineers now.
Yeah, they don't even know what Kubernetes is.
Exactly. You don't need to know what a Kubernetes is to be an engineer anymore.
Yeah, so it's a new market, basically, we're charting together. And if you think about it, for decades, we focus on making 30, 40, 50 million software developers in the world more productive. And now suddenly the aperture is much wider. We're targeting basically every knowledge worker in the world, probably 1.5 billion, 2 billion people in the world. So very exciting journey ahead for us.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
And how do you think about how Replit should evolve as the nature of the software development role evolves, right? From writing code to more managing agents, and then maybe managing agents that are managing other sub-agents. How are you thinking about that at Replit?
We're already at this stage. We launched Agent 4 back in early March this year. And what we try to do is rethink what is the driver's seat of the product. You're not there anymore just thinking as a builder. We actually empower you to become a project manager. So you spend quite a lot of time planning, and then we spin up agents in background that accomplish the job. So even though the product hides most of the complexity, in reality, our users, as of today, they're managers of agents already. And I think that's the key of entrance for non-technical users. They need to be able to unleash the power of several agents running in parallel, but they don't want to have the cognitive burden of having to manage tens or hundreds of them. It's way too much. I even see developers running several shells in parallel, several IDEs. That is something that I think will be left only for the top coders in the world. And everyone else will be just running agents in the background without even realizing that.
Yeah, great.
So dive a little bit deeper, I guess, on how Replit layers on the underlying LLM or LLMs as you choose them and provides dramatically more value to these engineers.
Yeah, I think it's very important to put focus on the application layer on top of models. It's very exciting, the race that we're experiencing in technology today. I think it's unprecedented how fast the frontier is moving. But at the same time, that is raw power. And if you put raw power in the hands of a power user, they come up, they tailor their own workflow, they find the different products that make their life easier. But when you're targeting a knowledge worker who just wants to get the job done, what they're looking for is a platform that allows you to get anything that you have in mind accomplished. So over time, we're starting to think even less about a software-centric view for Replit. Is more a place where you can accomplish a knowledge worker task. And if that is by means of creating an application, by all means, we are also creating agents, we are creating slide decks, we're creating motion videos. Ultimately, we want to empower you to be creative by means of creating software in background, but the entire complexity of writing code, maintaining code, publishing applications, that is completely hidden. And I think what I love to talk about in public, because I don't think many users understand that, is the same level of quality you get from a Google Cloud deployment when you build anything on Replit. So we're using Cloud Run, and we're using Google Cloud Storage. So even though you're building a MVP or your prototype, you're already able to scale to millions of users overnight.
That's amazing. So you delegate the authorship to Replit, the the maintenance and the DevOps, you also take care for your customers. What
Correct.
does the software development life, like what does building software look like in the future?
I don't think we're gonna any more focus on the SDLC, the software development life cycle. And the reason being, if you spend some time on Replit, the cycle is literally 2 hops. Like you create the software and then you republish it. Everything else is happening in the background. We have a prod agent, so it's an agent that basically polls all the time your deployments, checks if your queries are fast enough, checks if there are errors in your logs, and then recommends you how to fix the application. We're just launching today a way to keep track of all your software dependencies in terms of security. So if there are vulnerabilities, just publish through a CVE. We immediately warn you about it, and we give you a task that the agent can accomplish. The only thing you need to do is to accept it and then republish the application. So the cycle that we studied in college, several different steps. You write your requirements and then you create the software and write tests. I think is all being compressed into this creation experience that you have on Replit. And then when you're ready to go, you publish the next version of the app.
That's amazing.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you're orchestrating the different models? You mentioned you pick the right size model sort of for the right size job. What goes into that? And then also, are you using any open models at all in terms of your mix?
When we put our hands first on the early versions of Flash and Flashlight, a lot of the testing was based on vibes. So we literally try to understand, okay, how far can we push these models? And we've been constantly impressed by how powerful they were. If you think about it, a Flash model is usually 6 months behind where the frontier was. So if you use Flash today, you're basically using a way more expensive model from 6 months ago in the frontier. That really forces you to rethink your product roadmap. There will be things today that maybe are not affordable, especially for like our long tail of users across the world. But 6 months from now, we're going to be able to put them in the hands of everyone. So that is why I'm very excited about the smaller models. The way we test them today is far more rigorous than when just Flash came out. We have a lot of online evaluations. So every single day there are several versions of our agent in front of everyone. We do a lot of A/B testing, as you can imagine, and we try to understand which are the tasks, which are the accessory functions that the agent can accomplish with lower level of intelligence. And we keep tuning that, and it's a constant cycle. Basically, on a nightly basis, we redeploy a new agent for everyone.
Got it.
You used the word A/B test, and I'm very curious, because you have to support basically any app that could be written. How do you do evals and tests, and which part do you own, and which part do you delegate to your users to evaluate for themselves?
So we definitely put a lot of effort in creating offline evaluations, and we also collaborate with the Gemini team. We give them insights of beta models running on our evals. At the same time, a lot of effort goes on online evals. And you're absolutely right. A lot of the applications are the first time we actually see them being built on Replit. It's very similar to the queries on Google search. Back in the days, I think half of them are unique queries that hit the platform. It's similar for us. We can't really evaluate if a certain app has been built successfully, but what we can do is we can track the user sentiment, we can track if they keep engaging with a certain application, and we've been seeing the success rate and the sentiment of the user climbing steadily over the last year and a half, partially thanks to models becoming more powerful, but also thanks to the fact that our platform is far more exhaustive, our agent harness is way more advanced than it was before, and I expect almost these numbers to start to plateau maybe by next year. Because the truth is, a lot of the software that is created on Replit or on web coding platforms is not going to be as advanced as maybe a database built on Google Cloud. It's relatively simple software. There are playbooks that can be followed. Models are becoming extremely good at them. And I'm very excited about literally the next 12 months, because we're probably going to see a peak in terms of what web coders can accomplish.
Very exciting.
I think we're...
Are we out of time? I have so many more questions.
Maybe one more?
Well, I am wondering, I guess, for everybody building things, you mentioned that about half of the applications are unique snowflakes. What are the common patterns that people are building either for their enterprises or as weekend warriors?
I think the day one task that everyone does on our platform is they create a prototype of an idea that they have in their mind. They do the 0 to 1 really quickly. What makes Replit different is that they're not just creating a front end or a landing page. They can actually go in depth and create a functional prototype. I think there are two paths from there. One is you show up at a meeting, with decision makers and stakeholders. Suddenly, you're not there with a slide deck or like a 6-page essay.
Yeah,
you share a URL, they check the prototype, and then they test your product idea, and they give a thumb up or thumb down. The second one that we're also very excited, and I think is really changing the scenario of how SaaS is going to evolve over time, is the fact that a lot of internal tools today are built on Replit.
Yeah.
Of course, we are big footers of our own product, but I can tell you if you shop at Replit today, maybe 80% of the software that they use on a daily basis is built on Replit. So all our internal tools, ranging from HR, sales, finance, everything is built on our platform. And we see this happening across the entire industry.
That's cool.
Thank you for being a customer of our Gemini models and providing really valuable feedback. It's been super helpful for our teams.
Thank you.